Hello friends, and welcome back to Cities Skylines BrizVegas. In today's episode, we're going from this to this, and this to this, and this to this, and a few other shenanigans along the way. So detailing is on the menu today. Now let's get into it. So I was inspired by a recent trip I had to the real BrizVegas. I was lucky enough to head there a few weeks ago, and I was surprised by just how many obvious details I was missing, specifically along the river here. Let's start with Southbank. So this is my own reference pick here. I didn't realize how low to the water it really is, and also the rocks along the water's edge. The other key thing missing here is if you're from Brisbane, you may have never noticed this before, but right next to the Victoria Bridge is actually the remnants of the previous bridge, and there's even some tram track remains from times past here as well. So we definitely need to add that in. So I think I have two choices. I can either terraform the entire damn city down to the water level, or I can use the water features mod to raise it up. So I'm going to go with option 2. I think that will give me a little bit more control in case the city floods. I can easily remove any of the water. Famous last words. So let's make sure I have everything leveled up around the edge. And a tip for this too is I've noticed that when you have keys on the water's edge and you're messing around with the water, if you want to come back and move them or delete them later, it can sometimes cause the water to rush over and cause some flooding. So I'm going to remove this key in advance and make it look a lot nicer later. So time for another round of Shelly versus the water. Let's see if we can mess about with the water features mod to get this sitting up nice and high. And I guess this is a huge damn river, so this option may not be the most efficient. But I didn't want to add something like a river source in case it really just got out of hand and flooded the whole city. So I'm still convinced this is the right approach. Let us just patiently keep adding some more water and see how it goes. I think adding shrubs here to test how high the water gets is the equivalent of this meme, but a great way to make sure that you're only going as high as you want it to go. Alright, so this is clearly going to take a little while. Let's get into the actual detailing while we wait. So given this whole build is based on a real city, let's check out some more of the inspo and have a look at the real Southbank quickly. Now the obvious thing would be, I still don't have this dang Ferris wheel. Seriously, can anyone get that to me somehow? It's really starting to stress me out. Help a girl out here. But other than that, I think the main things I want to focus on here is the actual shape of the riverbank. So some terraforming is definitely required. And obviously I did do this whole area before, but the last time we created this little beach in the middle, we didn't have the water features mod. And the water that I got in here somehow has all dried up, so we definitely have to redo that. We also didn't have any palm trees. And I think the other thing I want to focus on is the shape of the buildings you can see in the background as well. But let's start with this side first. I want to get in this piece of the old bridge and get all the rocks and things along the riverbank. This will also be a great chance to use some of the new decals and surfaces from the extra detailing tools and extra assets importer mod by Triton Supreme with some of the surfaces and things created by Sully and others. You definitely have to check that out if you haven't already. So we've started by moving the current QPAC building out of the way, and that will let us start drawing in our path along here so that we have a nice border for the rocks and fine shrubbery. And of course, this old bridge. And I was browsing through the Find It mod by TDW, and I think the grand bridge pillar thingy will do just nicely. So let's get started. Now these are some of the Sully surfaces I was talking about. What I love about these is not only do they look pretty dang realistic, but Sully has clearly grown tired of the same issue I've been having, where the blending into the other terrain can be quite stark when you use these surfaces. So there's a fine selection here of varying colours and levels of the riverbed terrain. It's just perfect. Speaking of issues, I just couldn't get this terrain to stop being so jagged, but we shall make do. Let's cover it up with some boulders. Okay, time for the bridge thingy. I don't know why I'm so excited to put this here, but I suppose when I was in Brizzy and I had just finished doing the tram history video, I can't believe I never really noticed this was here before, and now it's just so obvious. So it will really make this area complete. So we're using the Find It mod with the additional asset image library for all the fancy thumbnails that make finding it just that much easier. And we'll keep using this now to also find some hedges. And I guess this is another good tip, in case you weren't aware, there is a tiny bit more shrubbery in the game that isn't in the default vegetation menu. Some hedges and flower pots and stuff. And while that's still not enough, god damn it, I want some more trees and shrubs so bad. At least there's a few extra things that we can use here. So the next thing that was missing was some parking. There is an underground car park here, and it's technically part of the QPAC building, but we'll just take advantage of the default one and plop it here. And then we can put our QPAC building back where it belongs. And this is most of the bulky stuff laid down now, so we can actually get in and build all the paths and other decorations around it. Such as these cute little garden lights that I thought made nice little bollards around the roadside. Next, I was looking at this picture and I noticed this little garden here had beds under the trees, including these white border things at the front. This might be going a little bit overboard for some, but this is a detailing episode after all. So first of all, my tip for getting this shape with the surfaces is to add a path around it first. That way, when you put down the surface, it clips to the edge and looks a lot smoother. Then we're going to use this fence, and a good chance now to open the Move It mod. We can select them all simultaneously and then sink them into the ground. Super easy. We'll probably never look at this again, but we will all know it's here, and that's all that matters. So, not gonna lie, I'm actually pretty stoked about this. There's nothing more satisfying than finding creative ways to get the game to look like my inspiration. Although I noticed the water still isn't quite high enough, we can fix that later because we've been messing about here for a while now, so let's keep moving. So we have this little area between QPAC and the beach, which would ideally have a Ferris wheel. Instead, we'll just make this a nice little walkway and add in some of the buildings along the back of it. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without adding in some invisible pedestrian paths and hang-around areas. I've lost track which mod has enabled these as part of the default game menus now, but it's super handy having this here. I will leave a list in the description box of all the mods I've been using anyway, and it's going to be one of them. So let's have a look at Streets Beach. I did already do a video on the history of this place before, so go and check it out if you're curious. But today we're focusing on the detailing. So similar to those little surface shapes, I'm going to use paths again to get the layout for the water here. This just gives us a nice border to know where to terraform and try and get the shape how we want it to be. And then we'll go back to the trusty water features mod to fill her up. And I think what I'm most excited about here is being able to use some palm trees. It's really going to give it that element of realism. Very good. So now we have our little water situation, we can get back into the extra detailing tools and check out some of these sand surfaces. Similar to the riverbeds, Sully has provided us multiple types of sand, so we can fade it out to the grass in a much more seamless fashion. This is going to look so much better now. And then we can also dot in some gazebos and of course some palm trees. It's really a lot more realistic than before. Totally worth it. Now let's add some more of these buildings along the beach. A great chance to showcase another fine mod update with the Better Bulldozer. This mod has totally changed my life, honestly. Another masterstroke from Yang Yang. It's now possible to toggle this option here to delete the props that you don't want from these buildings. It works on all kinds of buildings. It's truly a wonderful addition to the bulldozer mod and the game overall. This gives me the chance to use something that wouldn't typically fit here, like these mansions. I think they look like cool modern restaurant bar kind of places. So thanks to the mod, we can put these here right along the path and get rid of the bulky backyards and things so that they fit in a lot more seamlessly. And while we've been doing this, some of the resident moose have come to visit us. Why, hello there! Going for a snack, eh? So along the back here, I'm doing my best to follow the similar skyline and colouring of the buildings as well. We've already been using the Anarchy mod a lot during the build so far, but what I've been experimenting with a lot lately is using it to combine buildings. You will see infrastructurists do this quite masterfully, and I think I'm finally getting the hang of it. Not only does it reduce the space between, but if we put some right on top of each other, we can create some unique custom buildings. It really fills the void I have while I'm waiting on some more assets to be available. So it's just really about experimenting and checking how things line up so they don't look too wacky. And I think that looks pretty sweet. Time to head over to the other side of the river now. And one of the iconic buildings here is the Treasury Casino, named as such because it was indeed the previous Treasury building back in the old colonial times. But I'll resist the urge to give you a history lesson today, and let's just talk about how we're going to create this thing. Because it's so noticeable along the river here, and it's been really bugging me. So there's obviously no asset we can use for this, but I reckon let's continue on with the method of stacking buildings together. I've done some experimentation with a few different ones, but I've settled on the old warehouse apartments. I just love these things. I did initially include some other ones along the front here, trying to replicate the main entrance. But in the end, I decided to remove these and just went for the condos all the way around. It's obviously not exact, but it's the same kind of vibe. Now this building actually takes up this entire block here, and I'm surprised that a whole square of these things actually doesn't look too bad. I'm annoyed that I can't fill up the middle space, but it will do for now. And this is where the bulldozer mod shines again. This would have looked even worse if we couldn't remove all these hedges and lights and stuff. It's as good as we're gonna get. Now across the road from here is this tunnel going underground. It's actually an underground bus station, the main one in the CBD, but I think it's a good chance to give our inner city some much needed parking instead. So a good chance to use the underground car park method, another thing stolen from Sully. Is there anything he can't do? And at least it will look like it does in real life, even if it's not a bus station. The rest of the space here is basically just a pedestrian area with the Queensland Library as well on the other side. And come to think of it, why don't we have any dang libraries in this game? Anyway, the thing about these buildings here is they are really funky colours. So I think I'm going to use the Principus buildings here and it will give us the same effect. And then just a few trees and fine shrubbery, and so much better than before. Now on the other side of the casino is the actual hotel for the casino, fronting onto what is called Queen's Gardens. I'm going to use another row of signature buildings for this, the Kane Residences, and it looks pretty good. There's also some nice palms here and some benches and a little statue out the front. I might use a fountain for this instead, because the guy holding the big green ball, the big ball of knowledge, if you know you know, it's just too damn big. So at least a fountain is still kind of ornate. Hopefully the Queen would have approved. Oh, it is so cute. I love it. So along this street, this is another one of my inspo picks. I forgot just how many palms there are around the streets here as well. And I haven't really done anything here beyond just zoning in some regular schmegular buildings. And then along here is also an actual underground car park for the casino and the hotel. So let's add another one of those here. And it's just so much better using this custom method so that the asset isn't so huge and we can make it as big as we like. Loving it. Okay, let's head over to the Riverside Expressway running along here. I think one of the main things I noticed here is it is genuinely the Riverside Expressway. A lot of these pillars are actually in the water and not on the ground. There's also a bit of a riverbed under here where it leads up to the higher ground. And then there's a walkway on the river running parallel down along the water, including a restaurant that's floating alongside it. So let's just do a little bit of terraforming under here so we can start adding in the riverbed and get our bearings a little bit. So the pier would come down under here, and we can create that as the start of the walkway that will run alongside as well. And we're gonna have to redo these exit ramps just so we can get those pillars being exposed. But we'll just work slow and take our time because I have a bad habit of flooding this part of town, and something tells me I might just be about to do that again. So the movement mod comes in handy again to select all the nodes here that are a bit too shallow to raise them up. Now let's redo this exit ramp. Sorry cars, looks so much better though. And now we can add back in our city cat stop. It's a must have. I gotta tell you though, I thought I would do something funkadelic for this episode and try to create my own custom harbour. I'm not sure why, but you can't place down the harbour stops like you can with those custom trains and stuff. So I went into the asset editor and tried to trim down the existing harbour so that it was a bit smaller, but I just had all kinds of problems and I think I crashed the game about 25 times. So I'm back to resorting to the out of the box one, but we can use the bulldozer trick yet again so that it looks a little bit more neat and tidy. Alright, it's coming along. Now I want to try and put this little jetty thing here and also the restaurant next to it. Jetty part, easy. Restaurant, not so much. I thought I'd be tricky and put it in the water and then use the movement mod to raise it up. And maybe it would just magically be elevated on stumps, and how cool would that be? No, that is not what happened. Turns out you can defy the laws of physics by doing this. Wowzers. I'm speechless. So don't do that. But look, we've come this far, so I'm getting this damn building next to this pier, even if nobody can go into it. Oh, was it worth it? Yes, totally. Now let's inspect the damage. Not too bad really. I reckon that will clear up. Oh, okay, so let's calm our nerves by placing some fine shrubbery and some little rocks down here. That should do it. And then just a few little cute parasols at the back of our Restaurant of Doom. And fun fact, this place is called Will End Flow. And will it flow? Yes. Now the very final thing we'll do is connect up our little city cats again, and our detailing blitz is complete. Let's go to the cinematics. so much better. This was so much fun. I hope you enjoyed the ride. I got so distracted by all the flooding excitement, I didn't record how I added these funky lights to the building. But you can check out some of my recent videos where I showed you how to create these. But for now, I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, thanks, bye.